Today I'm going to read some excerpts from On Revolutionary Morality, written in 1958 by Ho Chi Minh. The text starts, "Ever since the beginning of its existence, mankind has had to struggle against nature, wild beasts, the weather, etc., in order to survive. To succeed in this struggle, each individual must rely on the force of large numbers of people, on the collective, on society. Alone, he cannot get the better of nature and subsist. In order to survive, man must also produce food and clothing. Production, too, must rely on the collective, on society. Alone, the individual cannot produce. Our era being a civilized, revolutionary era, one must rely all the more on the force of the collective, on society, in all its undertakings. More than ever, the individual cannot stand apart but must join the collective, join society." Next he writes, "All of us know that from the past to the present, the mode of production has evolved from the use of tree branches and stone axes to that of machines, electricity, and nuclear energy. Social systems have also developed, from primitive communism through slave ownership and feudalism to capitalism, and today nearly half of mankind is progressing to socialism and communism." And just to be clear, this was written in 1959, where the USSR was still going on, so you had at least the USSR and China to pull for the nearly half of mankind. He writes, "In the old society, the feudal lords, capitalists, and imperialists mercilessly oppressed and exploited the other strata, especially the workers and peasants." He goes on to say, "Born and brought up in the old society, we all carry within ourselves, to varying extent, traces of that society in our thinking and habits. The worst and most dangerous vestige of the old society is individualism. Individualism runs counter to revolutionary morality. The least remaining trace of it will develop at the first opportunity, smother revolutionary virtues, and prevent us from wholeheartedly struggling for the revolutionary cause. We must avoid boasting about past achievements and claiming special prerogatives or indulging in bureaucratism, conceit, and deprivation. This is also expression of revolutionary morality." In brief, revolutionary morality consists of the following: to devote one's life to struggle for the party and the revolution. This was the most important. To work hard for the party, observe party discipline, and implement party line and policies. And to put the interests of the party and laboring people before and above one's own interests, to serve the people wholeheartedly, to struggle selflessly for the party, and to be exemplary in every respect. To endeavor to study Marxism-Leninism and consistently use self-criticism and criticism to heighten one's own ideological standard, improve one's own work, and progress together with one's comrades. Revolutionary morality consists in absolute loyalty to the party and the people. Our party pursues no other interests than those of the working class and the toiling people. Therefore, its immediate objective is to struggle for the gradual building of socialism in the North and reunification in the country. Under the party's leadership, our people have fought heroically, overthrown the colonial and feudal domination, and completely liberated the north of the country. This was a great success. But the revolution is not yet totally victorious, and the present aim of the party is to struggle for national unification in order to build a peaceful, united, reunified, independent, democratic, and prosperous Vietnam, to eliminate exploitation of man by man all over the country, and build a new society with happiness and abundance for all. We must oppose waste and embezzlement, and our cadres must be truly industrious, thrifty, honest, and upright, and join workers in labor." He goes on to write, "Land has been allotted to our peasants, whose lives have been partially improved, but the mode of production is still scattered and backward. Hence the yields have not increased much, and living conditions have improved but slightly. The movement for setting up work exchange teams and cooperatives in our countryside must be extensively and firmly pushed forward in order to bring about a firm increase in production. Only then can our peasants escape poverty and see their condition improved. Therefore, revolutionary morality consists in striving to maintain the party's objective, faithfully serving the working class and toiling people, and never wavering. Most party members and working youth union and most cadres have done so, but some have not. They think wrongly that now that the colonialists, the feudalists, have been gotten rid of in the North, the revolution has been successfully completed. That is why they let individualism develop within themselves. They demand enjoyment and rest, and they want to pick their own work instead of fulfilling the tasks entrusted to them by the organization. They want high positions but shirk responsibilities. Their combativeness and energy gradually weaken, and so do their revolutionary courage and noble virtues. They forget that the prime criterion of a revolutionary is in his resolve to struggle all his life for the party and the revolution. We must realize that the success recorded to us so far are only the first steps on a 1,000-league road. We must advance further, the revolution must make further progress, otherwise we shall regress and the successes we have gained cannot be consolidated and developed. To advance to socialism, we must wage a long and hard struggle. We must have revolutionaries, for there are still enemies who oppose the revolution. There are three kinds of enemies. Capitalism and imperialism are very dangerous ones. Backward habits and traditions are so big enemies. They insidiously hinder the progress of the revolution. However, we cannot repress them, but we must seek to correct them with caution, perseverance, and over a long period of time. The third enemy is individualism, the petty-bourgeois mentality that still lurks within each of us. It is waiting for an opportunity, either failure or success, to rear its head. It is the ally of those two above-mentioned categories. The party members' words and deeds have had a great bearing on the revolution, for they exert great influence on the masses. For instance, the present policy of our party and government is broadly and closely to organize working exchange between teams of cooperatives to carry out agricultural cooperation, but a number of party and working youth members do not join them, or have not joined them, do not actively contribute in their building and consolidation. It is individualism which has led these comrades to do as they please and go counter to the party's organization and discipline. Wittingly or unwittingly, their actions impair the prestige of the party, hinder its work, and impede the advance of the revolution. It is individualism which has led these comrades to do as they please and go counter to the party's organization and discipline. Wittingly or unwittingly, their actions impair the prestige of the party, hinder its work, and impede. He goes on to say, those comrades know that those party members who commit errors will lead the masses into error. Therefore, they stand ready to correct any mistakes they make. And this in a timely way. They do not allow small errors to accumulate into big ones. They sincerely practice criticism and self-criticism, which makes it possible for them to progress together. This conforms the revolutionary morality. During its years of underground activity, our party, although harshly repressed by the colonialists and meeting with numerous difficulties and dangers, developed and grew stronger with every passing day, and then the revolution and the war of resistance to victory. This is due to its effective use of the weapon, criticism and self-criticism. However, there still remain some party members who, unable to shake off individualism, become arrogant and conceited and keep flaunting their merits while criticizing others. They do not like being criticized. They avoid self-criticism or practice it without sincerity or seriousness. They are afraid they might lose face and prestige. They pay no attention to the opinion of the masses and make light of non-party cadres. They do not realize that it is difficult not to commit any errors in one's work. We are not afraid of possible mistakes, but of failure to correct them resolutely. To redress them, we must listen to criticism by the masses and practice sincere self-criticism. Otherwise, we shall lag behind and regress, which will lead to our being cast aside by the masses. This is the inevitable consequence of individualism. They pay no attention to the opinion of the masses and make light of non-party cadres. We must listen to criticism by the masses and practice sincere self-criticism. Otherwise, we shall lag behind and regress, which will lead to our being cast aside by the masses. This is the inevitable consequence of individualism. To struggle against individualism is not to, quote, trample on individual interests. Each person has his own character, his fortes, his private life, and that of his family. There is no harm when the interests of the individual do not counter those of the collective. But one must realize that only under the socialist regime can each person improve his private life and develop his personality and his strong points. The revolutionary movement involves hundreds of millions of people. Revolutionary work involves thousands of extremely complex and difficult tasks. In order to be able to assess all complex situations, clearly see contradictions, and correctly solve the various problems, we must strive to study Marxism-Leninism. Only by doing so can we consolidate our revolutionary morality, firmly maintain our stand, raise our theoretical and political level, and fulfill the tasks entrusted to us by the party. But some comrades only learn by heart a few books on Marxism-Leninism. They think they understand Marxism-Leninism better than anyone else. Yet, when faced with practical problems, they either act in a mechanical way or are thrown into confusion. Their deeds do not match their words. They study books on Marxism-Leninism, but do not seek to acquire the Marxist-Leninist spirit. They only want to show off their knowledge, do not apply it in revolutionary action. This is also individualism. Individualism spawns hundreds of dangerous diseases: bureaucratism, commandism, sectarianism, subjectiveness, corruption, waste. It ties up and blindfolds its victims, whose every action is guided by their desire for honor of position, not by concerns of the interests of the class and the people. Individualism is a cruel enemy of socialism. The revolutionary must deal with. Last he writes, revolutionary morality does not fall from the sky. It is developed and consolidated through persevering daily struggle and effort. Like jade, the more polished it is, the more it shines. Like gold, it grows ever purer as it goes in the melting pot. What can be a greater source of happiness and glory than to cultivate one's revolutionary morality